Hello and welcome to Streamtabulous. Today we're going to work on a photo, but we're going to do it a little different. I'm working on it from my computer using the program Easy Diffusion. If you don't know what Easy Diffusion is, it's an AI art generator. You can learn how to install it by watching one of my previous videos and learn more about it on there, or even go to the website. Now, generally it's used to do art, but there are ways to manipulate it to help you do photo restorations, which I've talked about before. And this one, I want to show you other ways that we can use it and manipulate it to keep it to as true as possible of the original image, and also recreate it. Why would we want to do this? Well, sometimes for a photo, it's really hard to fix the photo without doing a lot of composites and without finding royalty-free images to composite to rebuild it. AI art generators, particularly the Civity AI, I think it's called, for the website where you download the models, done where they're royalty-free images in the models. So, and the way it composites and it blends and the way it can work things into a particular shape and size is something which is very time consuming to do manually, and to a much larger degree impossible to do in many situations. So AI art tools are exactly that. They're a tool, and used right, we can get amazing results. So we'll go to the intro and then I'll show you the photo we're going to work on. Welcome back. So the photo we're going to look at today, sorry about the clicks, is this one here. And we can see it's very degraded for its color. We can see that it's just certainly very well worn, very well faded. There's not a lot of information and details there to really fix the original image. There'd be a lot of filters that we could try to apply to get it back. Particularly, we can see that the eyes are practically gone. Rebuilding the face, you'd be compositing and putting someone else's face on and then trying to warp it in. I've talked about that in a video where I've used Paint Shop Pro to actually do a composite of someone else's face and push it in, which is what we'd be doing with this one. Now that's time consuming and takes a while, so you know that's a lot of work to fix a photo like this, and we're going to do it really quickly using Easy Diffusion, which is stable diffusion. First of all, before we do the photo, what we want to do is we want to come through, just do the best we can for a little bit of sharpening to get some of those details out. So here I've just played with the color contrast. I have colored the photo lightly. It's a rush job, very quick to remove the damage across the center of it. And I've put some really bad eyes in there. Okay, but we're not looking for perfection. We're looking for markers to help the AI to rebuild this image, and that's what we're going to push towards. So now we'll come over to Easy Diffusion, and we'll bring that image open into that, and I'll show you how we can manipulate it and rebuild the image. And I think you're going to love this. This is actually great. So I want to come over. Okay, so here we are in Easy Diffusion over here. And the first thing we want to do is we want to come down to here to browse for our image. So I'm going to click that, and we're going to open up our image here. Now we have our image open here. Now I'm using Realistic Vision V51, which is a model which has a lot of more realistic shoots of random people, so you get better skin details. There's more images of people in it. It's a larger model. It's a 1.5, so it's really quick to render as well. And I find it is really good for doing realistic pictures, and it's got a pretty good database to it. So we come down, we want to keep the size small. If you're working on a large image, shrink the size down. You really want it below 1,000, usually 512 by say 700-ish is where you want to be working. This sort of size is fine. If you've got a faster computer, you should be able to render faster speeds using the larger sizes, so that's something you may want to play with. But if you're wondering why it's going to take you 30 minutes to render it, take a look at your size. You may have loaded a picture which is way too big. Stable Diffusion was built on 512 by 512 pictures, which is why it works better with smaller ones. There are newer models coming, which the paperwork to it shows that the new models, which will be pretty much 2K resolutions, certainly, you know, above 1080, so better than Adobe, will be rendering at the speed of the 1.5 models, which is really quick. So, you know, we can look forward to Easy Diffusion running on older systems in the very near future, so keep an eye out for that, but I digress. We want to come down here to the guidance scaler. The lower this, the more original it will stick to this image. The higher this is, the more it will just go nuts and build a picture not even close to yours. So keep that in mind. Prompt strength, stronger the prompts, the more it will be to here. The lower the prompts, the further away it will be from yours. It will just take free liberty to do what it wants. I'm going to leave that roughly in the middle today. I have two LoRa's which I've loaded. One's called Epic Realism Helper, which adds imperfections to skin. And I have one called Photo Shoot, which is a lighting composition filter. LoRa's are basically information which is put into the prompt along with models themselves. So it's a model that works with a model plus the prompts. So it saves you having to say improper skin and or imperfect skin and finding a model that has that sort of information in it. And when it's a model is used with an existing model, we get better results. So these are just two that I actually like. Now we will need data here, so I'm going to do that quickly. Okay, so what we're going to put into here for the prompt is we want to describe this photo the best we can. So it's a photo, and it's kind of important to put that because we don't want an animation or a painting. It's a photo. I want it in color, so I don't want it as black and white. I want it as close as to the original. It may not actually understand that, so it may just completely skip it. The other thing to remember is generally the prompt will only read 70 characters, and it will use the first words as the strongest to that prompt. So the further we get down, it may not read it as we come down to the end or care about it that much. So keep that in mind. So we want photo, color, keep to the original. Background is a curtain. It is a male. He looks European. Kind of looks like it's a Civil War era, so I put Civil War uniform on. With that guidance scale low, hopefully it will pick up on the original not having a lot of brass buttons and badges and things like that, and it should keep it pretty good. We want high quality hands, because that's something that can sometimes go astray, so we'll do that. High quality hands. Oops, we don't want a full stop because we are continuing. High quality hands. We'll try brown eyes. Looks like someone that would have brown eyes. Okay, now we're going to do our first run on it, which is going to take a moment. I'm just going to render two images, so we'll do that and we'll see what comes up. And then I'm going to show you the magic of something which is called ControlNet. With ControlNet, and if you're not seeing the LoRa's, come into your settings, make sure these are on here, both of these are clicked. You may need to close off and exit the DOS shell in the background, the command line in the background, to and then restart it to get it to come up. And once you've done those betas, you'll have access to adding LoRa's, and you'll have access to adding ControlNet. Okay, so now we can see our photo here, and we can see it's gone to a lot of that Civil War stuff that I was mentioning before. And this is where we're going to make it do a little bit different. Okay, so while it's rendering the next photo, I'm going to come down to choose an image for ControlNet. I'm going to add the same image. Now, you'll get to select your filters here. So if we select none, we'd have to have this image as whatever we're putting down here. Okay, so if we're selecting it here, and in this case we're going to use line art, and we're going to try coarse to begin with, what it will do is it will read this image, and this filter will apply to this to turn this into, in this case, line art. Okay, so we will now run that using this prompt here, and we can see straight away it has created our line art. And what you'll notice is eyes, nose, mouth, face line, hair, parts of the uniform. So with this enabled, it will keep it closer now to the original image. So now we can run that and we'll see the difference. You notice in the line art, it hasn't created buttons or anything like that. So the AI should steer away from doing this sort of work here. You'll also notice the way this vest comes open and this one is closed. You'll notice in the line art, it has drawn in this markers here. And as you can see, we now have an image which is almost on par with the original. And from there we can just play with it for a while. You can also see the way those eyes are done, how it's kept it to the original artwork that we had. And you can see that there. So we have a person that actually looks like the original person and not a completely different person, which we see usually if we're using AI and just dropping in an image and not putting a control image in there. The control image stops the AI from running wild. It puts the markers in to say, this is what I'm looking for. So we can see both of these, they're both good. From there we can make similar if we want. And now it's going to use that image, but it's also going to apply the control again, so which will keep it again as close to the original. Doing this when we run it this way, where we go and make more of, we lose control on the guidance, and you can see the guidance is very, very high, where we want the guidance very, very low. So I'd expect an image which is not really like the original because the guidance is too far away from the original image. And we'll let that run for a moment and you'll get an idea what it looks like. Okay, so here we can see here that it's gone very, very strong with both the prompts and a lot more than what the original would be for the warm tone to it. Overall, it's a really great image, but it may be too strong for what we're actually looking for. So we can stop this. And there is another way to do it. We can actually use this now as our input image, which will change it up here, and we'll keep our original there, and then we'll rerun it again. Now, because we're using a better image up here, but it's very close to the original and it has that original face that we're looking for, and we're using it with the control, we'll get a merge of the two where we'll end up with a better image than using the bad image as the control. So we meet that middle ground where we're using a newer render with the old render to find that in between and fix the photo further. And we can also see by, instead of doing the make similar where we'd have no control on the guidance, we can actually see that with that there, we're still using our guidance, and as we come through here we can actually see that information up in here. So we can see our guidance scale here. I find these steps are actually too high as well. They should really be 40, so I'm going to bring those down. Too many steps, it will go for a very long time. I'll leave that on random. But we can see here by using this image where it's got some issues with the hands, some issue with the clothing, some issues with the curtains. But by putting it up here as an input, keeping it down here, still having our prompt information up here describing the image, we now get images which are far better than we had before. So now if we want to, we can pick one of these and we can say use as a ControlNet image, and then we can rerun it. It will take a moment to create that as a line art, and then we have a cleaner line art than what we had before, which will give us again a better image. And there's another option for a detailed line art. Actually, I think it's under here. A realistic line art. So if we click that, we'll actually get a better sketch, which will force the image to be even more similar to the original. So this creates a cleaner image. We lose our curtains, but that's okay. And you can see how that works there. And we'll open that up. Bring that across for a moment. And we can see here that we have a face which is very much like the original. If we zoom in, we'll see pixelations. But we just use an upscaler to fix that. There's lots of free upscalers on mobile phones. But I do like Gigapixel AI and Gigaphoto. And that's pretty much it. It's that easy. So we keep a photo which was very badly damaged, and we have now used ControlNet to create a photo which is keeping everything clean and to the original. So it's not running wild and creating a AI image which isn't like the original. Now remember that you need the information there for it to build it. A lot of people are like, can you de-blur this? But there is no face to de-blur because there's just a couple of pixels and it's like black that indicates nostril holes. There's no real features to the face. You need features for any tool to work, whether we're working in Photoshop or if we're working in an AI program. It's always the same. We need to have information there to build the image. In Photoshop, doing composites and finding this style of clothing without knowing what period it actually is and what period of clothing that is, it makes it very, very hard. Using AI and controlling that AI to create that fabric texture on the original as we do with the sketch, you can see we get a far better image than we ever would trying to do it manually and trying to brush it in. And yeah, so we can come through here and I will reload this, which is the original artwork, and we'll change that to realistic, and we'll make 4 images of that, and we will see that change. We have the ControlNet at the bottom, so we have the ControlNet image which it's done, and we're basing it on the original, and we just play with it until we get what we're actually something that we're happy with. So what I'm hoping here is that the lines of the curtain might pop out a little bit more. So, but this gives you the overall of how to use AI correctly to rebuild an image. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't like AI, I don't want my photo restored with AI, but they're not realizing that AI is just a tool. Anything which is a script in Photoshop is a form of an old-fashioned type of AI, and this is sort of the same. I mean, this is very different. This is taking a lot of images and taking a lot of information and using the AI intelligence to recreate a photo. But this is something which is just absolutely amazing, and you can see how fast it is to do it. And it gives a lot of power. We'll change that to the original, and what I'll do is we'll come through and put in, we'll say this one here. I'll use this one as the input image, and I'll use the original, and I'll use that with realistic line art, and we can play with it and we can see the differences that we'll actually get. So that's it, just play with it until you get the best. I mean, you can already see that each one of these, except for the originals down here with no ControlNet, we can see that once we apply ControlNet, each one that we render is to the original image, and that's what we're looking for. And like I said, we can just input these as the new control, we can run it again, and we can make it that little bit more clearer, that little bit more sharper, and let the AI add more details to it. So each one of these is usable. And then you know, if you're restoring it for someone like I do, you can put up multiple copies and give them the option for which one that they prefer. And of course, if there is no face and you cannot get that face, there's always compositing that face on separately later and getting a face from that person if they've got other photos from that time period in the same position where you can actually put it on. So there we go. Nice, quick and easy. And we'll come back over. So that's easy diffusion, and I'll just show, oh, bear with me. So after doing some work for a little while, this is the one I came up with to keep the curtains in of the original, and I was rather happy with that one. And we can see that every single one that was kicked out is absolutely brilliant to the original. And I mean, that's a photo which had really no face. The eyes were pretty much gone. You could just see the marks there. And I will show you something which I think you might find fascinating. I want to show you how the original photo overlays onto the new photo. So what we'll do, we'll bring up the original photo, okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit effects and I'm going to go insert picture, and I'm going to insert the work that I have done. Stretch that out so it matches. I think that's sitting on top. Okay, so this is our image here, and I'm on eraser, and if I erase the face, you'll actually see that nose and the mouth, the ears, pretty much the hair is all the same. So that shows that the AI hasn't actually, with ControlNet, hasn't created a new face. It's just rebuilt the original face. So we keep it true to the original image. The only thing, of course, we don't know is with the quality of the photo was stubble, wrinkle lines, eye color, things like that. So the more information we have from the person that owns the photo, the better we can actually do. But that's the image there, and that just gives you a great idea of how ControlNet used with the original image, and working those guidances down and putting a decent model in can create that image and give us that realism and rebuild the image to something which was impossible for a lot of people to do, or just too much time. Like to do that manually, it'd easily take a week or more to do, let alone finding a royalty-free image of that exact clothing with the open vest and so forth. And then the lighting and the composition of it on top of it, where the AI can come through and it just blends that flawlessly. AI is a good tool. It gets a bad rap. So hopefully you guys out there will use this, and I'd like to see you guys use it properly. There's a lot of people that sort of rush the art images, or they're still learning. They don't know how to use them properly. So get onto the Facebook group and, you know, practice, learn, help others, and of course, like, subscribe, and get the bell on. If you found this video useful, share it to your other social media groups, get it out there, get the word out there. This is something people aren't really doing. They're not spending the time to work out how to use these tools to do something else other than create random art. I've been told that this is pretty amazing, the way I have worked out how to use it in a way that hasn't been used before. And for photo restorations, this tool's just absolutely groundbreaking, and it is something which is very important. Easy Diffusion does need a NVIDIA graphics card, and you usually want something with a minimum of 6 gig of RAM. Recommended is 8 to 12 gig of RAM for the VRAM of the actual graphics card. Easy Diffusion is free to install and use on your computer, and the models are free to use as well. If you were using Adobe Photoshop and you just realize that you have to pay extravagant amounts of money now to do the AI art or use the AI tools in it for less than 1,000 generations, so limited as well, you'd be interested to know that is the Stable Diffusion engine that they're using. I have tested that out myself. I have taken the same image, I have used Adobe to do the image, and I have used Stable Diffusion and used InPaint to do the restoration of an image, and I have got the same results, other than the fact that Stable Diffusion got better results due to the fact that their models have more in it. So that might be something you guys are interested in knowing, that Stable Diffusion, if you haven't got access to Adobe anymore or can't afford it, Stable Diffusion is 100% free. It is open source, and you can use it now as long as you've got the right hardware to do so. So again, like, subscribe, and get the bell on, and I will see you in the next Streamtabulous video. Thank you for watching my video and sticking around to the end. If you like my videos, it'd really help me out if you could like and subscribe. It helps the YouTube algorithm to push my videos out there to more viewers, which in turn helps me and helps everyone. So thank you for watching my video and hanging around to the end, and I will see you in the next video.